So, well, my name's Alastair. I'm from the UK. I've been living in Argentina for 12 years, which went very, very quickly. I also lived for a year in Montevideo. I lived in Pocitos, about 5 blocks from International House, which was good and a positive and negative, living so close to work, as you can imagine. And then I came back to Argentina, and that's where I am right now. And I've been teaching module 1 for since 2016. I think that was the first course. And I teach for, well, International House Montevideo and Lima, and for 2 universities in the UK. And at the moment, I'm also, I teach 2 classes at a school, a local school, where I'm head of English here in Zona Norte in Buenos Aires. I teach 4th year and 6th secondary, and they've just sat for the first certificate exam and for the CAE exam and for the IELTS exam. And they were very, very stressed about the whole thing, as you can imagine. Apparently, it's quite difficult to do a speaking exam with, you know, the barbijo on your face. Anyway, let's kick off by, I want to ask a couple of questions of all of you. So why do you want to do Delta 1 and or 3? And what do you already know about Delta 1 and 3? Because I'm going to bombard you with information for the rest of this session. But I'm sure there's some things that you already know about modules 1. If the answer is nothing, then, you know, that's fine. Obviously, that's why we're here. But I'll start first. The reason I wanted to do module 1 when I did it, in fact, the reason I wanted to do Delta like 10 years ago was because I had got to a point where I was really enjoying the teaching, but I needed something more from it. I felt like I'd sort of reached a plateau. You know, when you're learning a second language and you get to like intermediate level and you're repeating the same expressions time and again, that's how I felt with my teaching. So that's one of the reasons I did Delta. The other reason is because I wanted the opportunity to like get to a coordination position, which I was able to do, having done that, fortunately. So the first section of this is about what it means to you. What is Delta? So Delta is, it says here it's one of the best known. I'd probably say it's the best known in the world. There are others, but Cambridge being Cambridge, it is the one that that is most sought after. So it's very interesting hearing you all talking about your teaching background, because that is exactly what Delta is for. Updating teacher knowledge, for example, and extending your understanding of the principles and practice of English language teaching. I think sometimes, I know from my own experience, like I was saying, I was really getting into a rut with teaching before I did Delta. Though I loved it, absolutely, I still felt like there was something missing, and Delta's just, honestly, it suddenly gave me this like whole new outlook on teaching. I get quite evangelical about it, but it was great for one. That was one of the reasons it was so good. This is the other thing as well. Critically examine your current beliefs and practices as teacher. You've probably been in a situation where you've observed other teachers and you've thought, oh, that's a good idea, or I wouldn't do that in class. And one of the great things about Delta is it really helps with that kind of thing as well. And it will extend your knowledge of English language teaching in different contexts. So not just in your own context, but in different learning contexts around the world. And quintessentially, very importantly, develop your career and apply for more senior roles. I think it's still on the IH Montevideo Facebook page or website. One of our Delta students, Florencia Perez, from a few years back, actually, it was the reason she wanted to do, and it was module 1, was to become a coordinator in a school in Montevideo, and she got it because of it. It was Florencia Perez, wasn't it, Maria? I think.
Yes, it
Yeah.
was Florencia. It will put both two. I'm going to copy the link and let it there on the chat box.
It's great. That'd be really good, because she made like a little video, didn't she? I think.
Yes.
Yeah. Jolly good. All right, thank you. Okay, very important question. What does Delta mean? Diploma in teaching English to speakers of other languages. Yeah, that's the interesting thing. It used to be diploma in English language teaching to adults, and then Cambridge kind of realized, well, you know, we can make this about younger learners as well. So they did, but they kept the brand name Delta. It is from the Cambridge website. So that's great. And like I say, they've kept it now as a brand name, the name Delta. Good. Okay. So what is Delta? Let's talk about that. So this is very important, that Ofqual, which is the UK exams regulator, have the Cambridge Delta at the same level as a master's degree. And if any of you know the CELTA qualification, you'll know that the CELTA is level 5 in the UK government's qualification and credit framework. Delta is level 7. It's the only English language teaching diploma currently included at that level. So it's a postgraduate course. So we're going to talk a little bit about the nitty-gritty of the course now, okay, and the modality of it, and how all that's going to work. So first of all, with this link that you use today will be our Zoom classroom. Okay, we normally get people, well, from all over Uruguay, Argentina, and in this case, quite possibly Peru as well, and other countries. So we're going to be having this as a classroom. We used to use a different platform called, I don't know if any of you used Adobe Connect, but it's fine. It's like good for some presentations, but this really feels a bit more like a classroom for me. And, you know, I can see you all and we can talk to each other. And I much prefer it for that reason. Also, we're going to have a Google Classroom. You will not only love it, but I will absolutely convert you into using Google Classroom. When it was suggested to me that we use Google Classroom, I thought, oh, for goodness sake, another platform. It's just made my life so much easier. And I might show you the Google Classroom in a minute, actually. Apart from that, we'll be having tutorials. The reason for that is when I did Delta myself, we did have tutorials. By tutorials, I mean like one-to-one sessions online on Zoom, because, for example, if Dolo at any point feels like, you know, there's something that she doesn't understand about the course or something that she needs some extra help with in the exam, we will have a one-to-one session like this. So for like, you know, 45 minutes, an hour, whatever, she and I will talk, and it's like a private class. We'll try and do those once a month. That's the aim anyway. The reason is because I don't want anyone to feel, I'll stop my sentence and start again. There is a lot of work for modules 1 and 2. That is true. Like you've all said, that is certainly the case. But my job is to make it doable and, if possible, enjoyable for you as much as I can do, because it is hard work. But the point is that, okay, you get the qualification, you do the course, but you're not on your own, if you see what I mean. It's not like all of us together, and if somebody gets lost, then they're in trouble. No, that's not the idea, which is why I want to do the Zoom tutorials as well. The Google Classroom is just divided into different sections. In fact, there's no point me telling you. Why don't I show you what Google Classroom looks like? That would be a much better idea, I think. I'm going to open the Google Classroom that we just finished using with the current International House Montevideo course, and you will see what I mean. Okay, so here it is. I'm actually logged in as a student rather than a teacher now, but it doesn't really matter. Okay, so here you go. You can see my browser, and you can also see the Google Classroom there. If any of you have Facebook, imagine an academic version of Facebook, if you can. It's like this bit is your Facebook wall here, or timeline, or whatever they call it these days. I Actually, Facebook's not called Facebook anymore, is it? I think they've called themselves Meta. And you've got a section for classwork here. You'll see on the left, you've got all the topics there for the whole of our syllabus. And if I click on one of those at random, like methods and approaches, you've got the class material. You've also got homework as well, and you've also got the reading, like the key reading for the course. So it's all in one place. That's my point, right? Everything is in one place, so you don't have to worry about bits and pieces being all over the place. Good. Okay. Well, now I've tried to sell Google Classroom to you. We're going to talk about the different areas of study for the course as well. And you'll probably have seen this from the dossier that Maria sent you. In fact, it probably makes sense to have a quick look at that dossier if you've not had the chance to look at it just yet. But it's extremely valuable information, all of it. So this is what it looks like. This will have come through to you on email. And oh, can you all see my PDF now? Yeah, okay, thank goodness. Right, so this is what it looks like. The basic information about the course, what it's for. Let me zoom in a little bit. Right, this is the part that, where is it? Under me, right, this is the bit that I wanted to talk about. You've got the provisional session dates here, okay, and the times as well of those sessions. Now, each session is a different module. And we'll be covering everything from the basics, first language acquisition, like how that works or how we believe it works. But I'm not going to give you a massive spoiler about that, although I'm very tempted to. Methods and approaches, resources and materials. Then we've got the 4 skills: listening, speaking, reading, writing. But I've broken those up a little bit because we're going to have grammar and vocabulary in between. There's also testing and assessment, very important for Module 1 and Module 3. Discourse analysis, phonology, and then we will be having the mock exam. Because ultimately, for Module 1, the idea is this course is, there's 3 main goals of this course. The main goal is to train you for the Module 1 exam in December, right? And we're going for the December sitting of the Module 1 exam with this course. That's really what it's aimed at. And like all the Cambridge Main Suite exams, there's a very specific way that Cambridge want you to do this exam, very specific. And my job is to train you on that. So that's one thing. On the other hand, there's all those modules that you can see in front of you: grammar, discourse analysis, etc. Now, there's every session, there's going to be obviously a lot of content about that. So why it is that we teach the language that we teach in class, and practical aspects of it as well. Because what I also got a lot of on Delta, which was probably the most important thing actually beyond the qualification, was being able to basically, from my point of view, like teach better, if you see what I mean. That was one of the fundamental aspects of it. And honestly, it sort of made me think of not only teaching, but the English language in a whole different way as well. So it was a real eye-opener and a mind opener. And that's the goal of this course, is to do the same for you. As you can see here, we've got 2 mock exams, because when I did the course, I had 1, which was great. You know, you have to have a mock exam. But then what I want to do is, like, let's imagine Mercedes does the mock exam at the beginning of, at the end of September, beginning of October. And then we have to think about registering Mercedes for the exam. And then hopefully by the time she does the second mock exam in November, she will be able to see an improvement in her performance between those 2 exams, which will hopefully make her feel more confident before the big day in December. That's the idea anyway. So very basically, that's what all that is about, and that's the information that's in the dossier as well. What I'm going to do now, I'm going to show you I've sort of cherry picked a few a few parts of the course that I want to run over with you so that you can kind of see how it works, how it fits together. So you should be able to see my PowerPoint now again. Great. Okay, so grammar is one of the big parts of the course. Some people love it, some people are terrified by it. And I'm going to show you a picture that relates to this topic and to other topics as well. And what I'd like you to do is tell me how you think this picture relates to the topic. So here we go. I before E, except after C. Yes, Dan, grammar, paper 1, task 5. That's very true. Why do you oh, by the way, sorry, I before E, except after C, weird. What do you think? This is like one of those jokes you see on Facebook or Instagram. What do you think it's trying to say about the rule I before E, except after C? By the way, the question I'm asking you now, I'm going to be asking you lots of questions, and I'm not looking for, there's no right or wrong answer. Okay, so feel free to say whatever you wish. Spelling, yeah, it is talking about spelling. It's very interesting. In fact, one of the students on the last course I ran described grammar quite well, actually, saying that it was a retroactive categorization of patterns of the language, and I really liked that. It's like with the Spanish language as well, or whichever language. Nobody sat down and wrote a load of rules before the language was invented, so you've got a whole load of exceptions all the time. In fact, I'm sure you can think of many words that are spelt, well, for example, like weird with E before the I. There are many, many, many. Yes, there are rules, but there's a load of exceptions, and how to get that across to students without driving them completely crazy as well is going to be one of the focuses of the course. There is a big part of the exam that is devoted to grammar, and that's one of the things that we'll obviously be looking at during the course. Okay, vocabulary. Now, I'm going to give you another picture, and all I want you to do is write in the chat box or come on the microphone and say what you see. What's this? It's not a trick question, I promise, in case you're thinking, has Alastair gone crazy or something? What can you see? You can see salt and pepper. Okay. See, it wasn't a trick question, I promise. Now, why don't we say pepper and salt? What's that about? Because we don't do it, or do you? Do you sometimes say pepper and salt? Can you say pass the pepper and salt? The topic of Spanish expressions like that. What about tómalo o déjalo? You say that in Spanish, right? Take it or leave it. Tómalo o déjalo. Can you say déjalo o tómalo? Not really, no. People don't do that. Why? It's a particular type of collocation called a binomial. We say salt and pepper because we say salt and pepper, but how on earth to explain that to our students and to help them with these vagaries of the English language? So that's one of the things that we'll be talking about on the course as well when we do the vocabulary topic. Okay, next one for you, reading. Now, this picture, how do you think this picture relates to reading? This is one way of doing reading. It's a particular way of looking at reading. Yes, there's different approaches to reading, and this picture represents an approach called bottom-up reading, where you go and look at the fine details before building up a whole picture of the text. There's many different ways of approaching reading, and that's one of the ways we're going to look at. Okay, next one. How does this picture relate to listening? Sweet dreams are made of cheese. I presume you all know the song that this refers to. Can I ask you to tell us what the real lyric for this song is? Sweet dreams are made of this. Yeah. So yeah, so why does it say sweet dreams are made of cheese here? Good. So you probably have had this experience before, either in English or your own L1, of listening to lyrics of a song and getting completely the wrong idea of what it was talking about. And this is no exception. Good. Okay, so why does this happen? What are the features of connected speech that make this happen, and how can we help our students develop their listening so that they can get the right idea about what they are hearing? Good. Speaking. How do these two pictures relate to speaking? Have a look at them both. In fact, probably the first thing you can do is tell me what you think the two pictures are, what they represent. You should definitely recognize one of them. So if I just highlight one to start us off with, actually, hold on. What's this in the red box? So that's the script from, I think it might have been the first episode of the TV show Friends. Okay, good. And now, so what's the difference between that one and this one, B? What's this you're looking at? What do you think that is? If you look, I'm going to read this to you, okay, to all of you. I've got to book my, actually, let me get the highlighting tool. I've got to book my grad ticket. Oh yeah, get me on for the grad ball. Yeah, what, the ball? Yeah, I told you, because last year they had a flapper theme, didn't they? This is a transcript of real conversation that you're all looking at. And as you can see, this was a real conversation between some students at Nottingham University, and it's divided into turn numbers, like who says what, and you've got all these symbols for interruptions and things like that. And you can see that the way people actually speak is kind of different to what one sees in a TV series, obviously. Maybe it's an obvious thing to say, but that's one of the, again, the vagaries of speaking that our students have to deal with, even though they don't necessarily know that they have to deal with that. And if you look at this down here, I mean, it doesn't even look like it makes any sense. You and the boys were discussing what I would wear for our wedding if we were gonna get married. What? So that's one of the things we're going to be looking at when we do our module on speaking as well. Great. Okay. Okay, so next one is writing. What are you looking at now? What are these things on the picture? One of them's a letter. Which one's a letter? So yeah, the one on the left is an essay. That's right. And the one on the right is the layout for a letter. This giving students these kind of layout rectangles, as it were, is a feature of one of the many writing approaches that we'll be studying when we look at module 1. There's various different approaches to writing, and we're going to be looking at some of the best ways to help our students with that. Okay, phonology is the next one. How do you think that this OUGH suffix relates to phonology? How many different ways of pronouncing OUGH do you think there are in English? Give me a number. Right, you're going to go for 3. Oh, stuff happening in the chat box. Ella says 2. Leticia says 4. Mercedes says 3. And Karen can hopefully hear us. Right. The answer is, okay, great. As long as you can hear us, that's fine, Karen. This is an example sentence with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different ones. The wind was rough along the lock as the ploughman fought through the snow, and though he hiccuped and coughed, he thought only of his work, determined to be thorough. 9 different realizations of the same OUGH suffix. My goodness, what a nightmare English can be. So obviously, when we look at phonology, we're going to be looking at how to help our students with that as well. Good. Okay, methods and approaches. Let's have a quick look at that. Why have I chosen a picture of somebody saying, Simon says, touch your ear, and a kid touching their ear? How do you think that relates? Good. Yes, total physical response, which is one of the many methods that we'll be looking at, along with approaches and language acquisition theories as well. Good. And like, where does that idea come from that it's good to do that? We will be having a look at. Okay, speaking of language acquisition, what is this beautiful diagram with all these colors and things that you can see?
A tree diagram?
It is. Go on, tell us about the tree diagram, Dolo. Perfect. Well, that's exactly what we're going to be looking at when we study language acquisition theory as well. And this connects with grammar as well, how a sentence splits into all the different types of phrases and how those phrases split into smaller phrases, etc., etc. There's going to be a lot of analysis, as Dan will tell you, of the language that you'll need to know very, very clearly for the exam. And of course, that's my job to train you with that. Okay, resources and materials. We have a session on resources and materials. I've got two contrasting pictures to demonstrate resources and materials to you. This is picture number 1. And this is picture number 2. And like I say, they're quite contrasting pictures there. What do you think we're trying to say about how students can react to materials with these two pictures? Oh, okay, so that's the interesting thing about this part of the course is that, and like Leticia said, whether they're motivated or not. Sometimes when we look at a book, for example, if we all use course books in our classes, or even if we don't, we've got to teach some material to our students, we think, oh, for goodness sake, we've got to do writing with them today. How on earth am I going to make this exciting or interesting, etc.? And then some strange things will happen as well. Like we think that it might not be that interesting for them and they end up absolutely loving it. Or I'm sure you've all had that experience as well, when you spend ages preparing a lesson thinking, oh, this is great. I'm going to use a clip from, I don't know, Casa de Papel or something. Well, maybe not Casa de Papel, but you know what I mean, a series or a song or something. And for some reason, they don't like it that much and they get bored. So we're going to be looking at why that can happen and how we can improve those kind of situations. And also, and one of the things that we'll need to do is analyze some resources and materials in the exam. Okay, great. And you hate it, okay. I think this is the last little spoiler I've got for you for the course about testing. What do you think this picture is trying to suggest about testing? Oh, I'm glad you're laughing, Leticia, because I wasn't sure if this was a bit too cryptic. But yeah, the instructions clearly weren't here, or clearly weren't clear, I mean, rather than clearly weren't here. Right or. Now, I have a serious question for you that might sound like a joke, but I promise you this is a serious question. If you were the teacher of this student, and by the way, I'm no good at math, so anyway, but if you were the teacher of this student, and this is what they had given to you during this test, would you give them any marks or not? Serious question, I promise. That's exactly one of the things we're going to be talking about. You've all hit the nail on the head. Exactly one of the things we'll be talking about when we look at testing, assessment, and evaluation. And yes, those three things are different, is about how to construct a test so that this kind of thing doesn't happen. And great. So then, of course, we've got the exam. Now, we're not going to look at all of the exam because, no, that can definitely wait till the course. But I just want to show you one thing about it. And it looks like any Cambridge ESOL exam, but the whole course is building up for you to take the exam. In fact, I'm going to give you a small spoiler about task 1, the first task in the whole exam, where this is where we see if anyone in this room can get your first points for the Delta 1 exam. So let's see, task 1, provide the term for each definition. And here we've got a definition. And I'm going to read it to you. A process through which an error has become a permanent feature of a learner's language use and is believed to be resistant to correction. Now, does that sound familiar to any? Oh, Leticia is thinking. If any of you know the answer, please tell us what it is. The answer is fossilization. That's true. So well done. You've just got your first point for the Delta 1 exam. Congratulations. See, that's not so hard, is it? Well, that's paper 1, task 1. There's 5 tasks in paper 1 and there's 3 tasks in paper 2. But we're not going to talk about those today. That will definitely wait for the course. How do our students, like as in your students, generally speaking, in fact, some of you were mentioning international exams at the start of this session. How do they feel before their international exam? Or how do they feel before internal exams? Give me some adjectives. Delighted, wonderful, overjoyed.
I think nervous.
All right, so nervous. Leticia's also said nervous as well.
Terrified.
Terrified. There we go. Yes, this is what used to, when I was doing exams at school or university. This was definitely me at the time, and one of the reasons that we've built this course in this way is to make sure that you know that I, apart from International House Montevideo, are there for you. As in, I never want anybody to feel like it's too much, because this session is a very light introduction to the exam. But at the beginning of the course, you probably will feel slightly overwhelmed with stuff. And therefore, I don't want anyone to feel like they're on their own, as it were, which is why I've structured the course in the way I have. Okay, what delta means to me, I've got a photo here of the last intake that we had at International House Montevideo. This is actually after they'd sat their exams. This is pre-pandemic, obviously, but this is just after they'd sat their exams. Any of you who know where this is in Montevideo, you get an extra prize. But this was them after they'd sat their exam. You've got Lucia, who stuck her candidate number to her head, and whatever happens in the exam, you will get some kind of recognition of having done it, so that you know. This is jumping ahead of myself a little bit, but the grades, as it were, for the exam are pass, merit, which I'm sure Dan won't mind me saying is what he got for module 2, and distinction. There are those 3 different grades. And in any case, by the way, sorry, it's probably important I say this now. The course is aimed at people who want to take the exam, but there is no obligation on you to take the exam, okay? People take the course for different reasons. Some people take it purely for the professional development aspect of it, which is absolutely perfect. In any case, what you will be getting is a certificate of course completion from International House, okay? So whatever happens, as long as, like it says here, you come to like 3/4 of the sessions and do 75%, like 3/4 of the homework, the coursework, sorry, homework sounds like your school kids, but you know what I mean. You will get the certificate from International House saying that you've done that. So it won't disappear, if you see what I mean, if you decide you're not going to do the actual Cambridge exam. Good, okay. And I've got a little quote for you as well about the Delta 1 exam. Gerardo Velasa, whose name I always mispronounce, no matter how many times I say it, and doesn't matter how many years I've been speaking Spanish, I always mispronounce his name, says the following. He's the Director General of Anglo-Uruguayo, by the way. Says that Delta helps you become aware of your strengths and weaknesses. I think that Delta has been the most inspiring teaching qualification that I've taken, and it's been the one that has opened more doors. And that's actually, I stole that quote from the actual Cambridge assessment website, where it's actually got a little video of Gerardo talking about it there. Okay, so what's next? What's next is the following. Once you enroll on the course, should you wish to do so, you will get access to the Google Classroom that I was telling you about. In the Google Classroom, there will already be all the material, as in the texts, the reading text that you need, which is going to be extremely useful for you and inexpensive, which is a good thing. And you will also get a pre-course task and some pre-course reading to do. And our first session will be on Saturday, the 23rd of April for module 1. And we have, well, you'll see about 2 sessions a month. But like I say, once you enroll, you'll be into the Google Classroom. I'll give you a pre-course task, and so you can already start having a look at how the setup of the whole thing, which will probably be a good idea before the day itself. Because, like I say, there's a lot of reading to do. What I've tried to do with all the reading, by the way, is tell you not only what books I want you to read, but which bits of which books, if you see what I mean, so that you're not drowning in paper. That's the idea. Good. So I suggest that we go straight ahead and talk about Module 3 now. Just to say to everyone, this part of the session is actually probably going to be quite a bit shorter than Module 1, okay, what we're talking about. So Module 3, I thought actually I'd do this in a different way, in a completely different way to what you've just seen. In fact, I'm going to start talking about Module 3 by telling you a story. And this is a story about Alvaro, okay? This is Alvaro here, actually, on the right. The one sitting down, hand on chin, wearing glasses. This is called Case Study 1, Alvaro Needs Analysis. So I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions now, okay? And again, they're not trick questions, I promise, but I'd like everyone to put an answer, even if it's only one word, in the chat box, okay? And Dan, because this is Module 3, you can say whatever you want this time. How cool is that? Good. So my first question to you is, this is Alvaro, like I say. This, in fact, let me just put a little shape around Alvaro. What can you tell us about? What can you tell us about Alvaro's life at the moment? Where do you think he's from? What do you think he does in his life? I know you've got no idea, but I want you to imagine. Write something in the chat box. There he is. And his name is Alvaro. His name is not John or Alfred. That's significant, by the way. And like I say, I promise you there's no trick questions, and I'm not looking for a right or wrong answer. Okay, so Ella says Alvaro is possibly an analyst. All right, keep it going, guys. Businessman, good. Everyone, keep the ideas coming. Where do you think he's from? What do you think his life is like? Where do you think he works? Maybe what country he lives in. Keep it going, everyone. Keep it going. Great. So we've definitely got businessman, Spanish, tool. Okay, Dan's going for physical descriptions now. Yeah, Alvaro speaks Spanish as a first language. That's right. Okay, Mercedes, great. You've gone for a whole scenario here. Love it. Loves Apple devices. Nice. Nice. Quite possibly, yeah. Salesman from Spain. Okay, I'm gonna. Oh, I see what you mean about Apple. You weren't joking, were you? Okay. All right. This is what we're gonna say. Alvaro is a salesman from Spain. Good. Okay. And I'm going to show you another picture that relates to Alvaro's life right now. Where is Alvaro going next? Even if you don't recognize the landmark, you probably recognize the little flag on the top of the landmark. Yeah, Alvaro does like traveling. He's going to a new city, and indeed, Dan, it is New York City in the United States. Dan is going to live and work next year. He's going to be living and working in the United States. Now, there's a reason why these slides are called needs analysis, okay? All right, let's move on a little bit with Alvaro's life. Right, here's Alvaro again, but in a different situation. This is Alvaro here. What kind of working environment is he going to be in now? He was in one working environment in Spain, but now where is he going to be? And what are the differences likely to be? He's changed his hairstyle. Yeah, he has changed hairstyle. That's very true. It's very, very true. So what's different about Alvaro's working situation now? We know that he's in the USA. What about his colleagues? Right, okay. So maybe he's got another position, but his colleagues, yeah, they're all North American. So that brings with it its own challenges, right? He needs English. Okay, good. Now we're getting to it. Now we're getting to it. So wait, salesman from Spain, moving to the USA, moving to New York, business English for his objectives. Okay, very good. Very good. Okay, let's carry on with this. So maybe Alvaro might need to do an exam as well in order to reach this goal. He's got lots of different choices of exams. He could do one of the Cambridge Main Suite exams, the BULATs, the IELTS. That might be one of his needs as well. So this is a picture of a diagnosis happening now. How do you think this and the term diagnosis relates to Alvaro and his situation and what's going to happen next in his life? Imagine you're Alvaro's teacher. Right. So Dan does just put assess his current level. All right. Okay. And I'm going to ask you all another question. Hold on. So assess his level. No, you're right, Dan. You're right. So we're assessing Alvaro's level. What else might we be assessing? All the slides that we've been through prior to that. What else are we assessing? Okay, so Dan's interest, Dan's needs, maybe Dan's learning style as well. What else do we need to know about Dan as a teacher? Good. Not Dan. I'm saying Dan now. I'm even calling this person Dan. Alvaro. What else do we need to know about Alvaro as Alvaro's teacher? Okay, so strengths, weaknesses, interests, needs, age as well, perhaps. Good. Okay. So again, you are Alvaro's teacher. Motivation, good. And then you need to sit down and plan Alvaro's course. Maybe something about American culture, Mercedes. Absolutely. Now, that's really interesting that Mercedes has just brought up North American culture. It's a very, very good point. Because we're not just teaching a language, are we? And language is very culturally determined as well. So our teacher, o sea, you guys, has this whole extra dimension of challenge as well when you're planning Alvaro's course, when you're sitting down and designing a course for Alvaro, because this is a one-to-one student you've got. Perhaps also a fan of Apple. I'm not sure if that's an Apple product. Okay. The course has been designed, and then the teacher delivers Alvaro's course as well. Now, what might happen towards the end of Alvaro's course? What might the teacher give Alvaro? Probably very necessary for Alvaro as well. Okay, feedback. What else might the teacher give? What do we think about your students? What do we often give them? Nearly always, what do we give them at the end of their courses? How do we assess their progress, like Dan has mentioned? Right, perhaps an exam or a test or something like that. Good, okay. So we have our student assessment. There's Alvaro making some notes, possibly about to take an online exam at the end of his course. And then hopefully Alvaro will pass whichever exam he's gone for as well. So that's it. Alvaro has reached his aim. What might the teacher then do? What might the teacher then think about at the end of the course? Reflect, right, okay. So Alvaro's teacher is gonna hopefully sit down exactly, Dan and Karen, exactly, whether it was successful and even if it was absolutely successful, and Dan passed the exam and he's now living in New York and he's got his own apartment somewhere near Central Park or whatever and bumps into the cast of Friends in the street every day, even if that's the case, the teacher might think, okay, so this is how things worked. What could be improved for the next one, for my next private student? And that's basically what Module 3 is all about. Now, I think it was Leticia who mentioned that there were a couple of options for Module 3. There is syllabus design, and there's also academic management. The one you would be doing at International House Montevideo would be the syllabus design course. That's the one that we're aiming towards, syllabus design. But mostly centers either do one or the other, and we do the syllabus design one. So I want you to think about Alvaro's situation, etc. Okay. And what I want you to do is have a look at the following picture. This is case study 2 now. Third year class at Colegio del Viejo Escritorio. There is no school that's really called Colegio del Viejo Escritorio. There should be, but there isn't. Well, I should Google it, actually. Maybe I'm about to ruin a school's reputation completely. I would like you to write in the chat box now what you think. These are the students. These are your students, unfortunately for you. Yeah, sorry, Leticia. What do you imagine that a course to motivate students like this would need to be like? I want you to put any ideas you can think of in the chat box. I don't want you to write things like motivating, etc. I want you to write ideas down. How would you get these guys to stop sleeping, sit up, pay attention, hopefully do a bit of work, and maybe even pass some kind of exam at the end of the year? Okay, good. Keep it going, everybody. More hands-on. What else? Other ideas? What kind of material could you include? What kind of things? Because they presumably have quite different motivations and needs from Dan, right? I keep saying Dan. Sorry, Alvaro from the Spanish salesman. Okay, good. This is really good what you've put in the chat box. Okay, so more hands-on, games, perhaps songs. Ella, I'm quite impressed that you're on the bus and you're listening to this and you're also using the chat box at the same time. Project-based learning, I like it. Leticia, I like it. Good. We're going to be looking at that on the course. Ask them about their likes and dislikes. Seating. All these things. So Leticia is going into the classroom management aspect of things as well, which is perfect. Mercedes says role play too. Very, very good. Okay, so look, they've got really different needs and motivations from Alvaro, haven't they? And so that's obviously one of the things that we'll be looking at on the course. And in fact, one of the things you've got to do, now that we're going to move on and talk about the components of the Module 3 course, is the following. So we've just talked about 2 very different types of students, extremely different. Now, what you're going to need to do is the following. You're going to need to choose a specialist area, a group of students, or a one-to-one student that you've got, ideally. Okay? Yeah. Think of, in fact, you can do this now. You can think of a class, the first class or students that spring to mind now, okay? Imagine they're going to be like your test group, as it were. And what you need to do is the following. You design a needs analysis to find out the needs or single student's needs. You'll need to select, adapt, or design a diagnostic test, like we were talking about with Alvaro, to find out their current knowledge and skills. And by the way, even if this is a class that you're already teaching, you'll still need to do this. Or it could be a new class that you'll have next year. You'll also need to, we lost Ella, analyze the data from the needs analysis and diagnostic test, and we'll teach you how to do that. And of course, the big part of this, plan a course based on their needs. Now, that course can either be for the rest of the academic year next year, because we're starting in June, or it can be a 1-month course, for example. Plan how you will assess their progress on that course, very important. And then write up your assignment. And you're probably looking at the word assignment and thinking, oh, hang on, what do you mean? You just sneak that in at the end, Alastair. Module 3 is an extended written assignment. That's what it's about. That needs to be, and it includes all of these areas and needs to be submitted to Cambridge at the end of the course. And we're going to have a quick look at the dossier that Maria compiled for Module 3, because I want to show you those different areas as well that you can talk about, the specialism areas. So here it is. This is the Module 3 one. It's got the aims of the course here, etc. What I want to draw your attention to for now, is right, this part here, because these are the areas that you are going to be able to focus on. And what I'd like you to do is just stick in the chat box. We're going to run through these in like 30 seconds. I want you to put in the chat box any of these that you like the idea of for doing an assignment. Bueno, Leticia, when I say like, I mean think that maybe it would be a good idea in your experience as a teacher, okay? So with Alvaro was British English, business English, okay? BE. What about this one? Teaching younger learners. So you can put in the chat box if you would like to do any of these. By the way, anything you put in the chat box, it doesn't mean you have to do it. It's just to get some ideas going, okay? English for specific purposes, ESP, like, legal English, perhaps aviation English, specific reasons for learning English. English for academic purposes, teaching students how to write formally at a university, for example. Teaching examination classes. Some of you might really be into your Cambridge exams, for example. First certificate, CAE, something like that. Teaching one-to-one. CLIL. So teaching through another subject, teaching English through another subject. Teaching monolingual classes versus teaching multilingual classes. When I started teaching at International House London, it was a multilingual class, Russian, Spanish, Italian, French, German, and Japanese, which presents a whole other raft of challenges, of course. Teaching English in an English-speaking environment and teaching English in a non-English-speaking environment, like what probably most of us do. Teaching learners online, that's a new module that's been added, or a new possibility that's been added since I did Delta a while ago. Okay, so we've already got some answers in the chat box. Great. Okay, so multilingual classes or distance learning. The second one says Karen, what the younger learners, presumably. Leticia's also mentioned younger learners. Mercedes, you've got 3 possible options. That's great. Okay, so those are the specialist areas that you need to start thinking about with Module 3. So imagine, okay, so in the case of, let's imagine it's Karen who goes for younger learners. Karen needs to think of a particular younger learners class and what it is that she feels, having done a needs analysis, that would be useful for them to focus on, whatever that would happen to be. Like, I don't know, maybe learning new vocabulary or something like that, or developing developing their reading skills or something like that, and how she could build a course around that and assess that course. Then, by the way, on both of the dossiers, you've got a reading list, a suggested reading list. And that material will be available in the Google Classroom for you. And then under my bio data, you've also got the timetable for Module 3. As Maria was telling us, it starts in June, this one. This is a, like I say, it's all about an extended written assignment. And the way I've broken this up is into different units. So as you go through all of these parts, you can see that I've tried to make the whole thing really bite-sized, because a bit like Module 1, when you look at what you have to do, you think, oh my goodness, this is an awful lot. How do I build a course and assess a course? And how do I structure the assignment, et cetera, et cetera? And I certainly felt when I did Module 3 a bit panicky about it. So that's why I've designed the course in this way. So it's all broken down into these bite-sized chunks, like the concept of syllabus design, what the extended assignment is, like an overview of the extended assignment. And then we go into different concepts that you'll need: methods and approaches, testing and assessment, and then the different parts of the written assignment: how to do the introduction, how to do the needs analysis and the diagnostic testing, etc., etc., etc. Then we're going to be looking at the drafts, at the second drafts, and then proofreading and sending them off to Cambridge. So my point is that the whole thing is very much built bit by bit, so that you don't feel like, you know, you're doing the whole thing on your own, because that would not be any fun for anybody at all, trust me. So that's the idea and the concept of module 3. And a bit like with module 1, should you wish to do that course, when you enroll, there will be another Google Classroom for module 3. And yeah, we're starting later in the year. We're starting like halfway through the year in June for that one. Basically, the way you need to see module 3 is like, it's a big written assignment and there's a very specific way of doing it. Yes, Leticia, sorry. You've very patiently got your hand up there.
Is it advisable to do both at the same time or not?
Well, you'll be starting module 1 in April, and then module 3 in June. And when I did my Delta, I was doing modules 2 and 3 at the same time, which, as Dan will probably tell you, doing anything at the same time as module 2 is insanity. But module 1 and module 3 is definitely doable. The reason a lot of centers have module 3 as a 3-month course. That's why I've made it June, July, August, September, October, November. Now, I appreciate, of course, there's the winter holidays in between. The point about that is that I've spaced it out in that way for that reason. So it's not all bunched together and there's no, like, you know, feeling of panic. Listen, this is going to hopefully answer Kaden's question as well. The way I've structured the module 1 course, which is actually a little bit different since Dan did it with me, is that there's a lot of practice spaced out over a long period of time. Why? So that at the beginning, from the start of the course, you know what's going to be in the exam at the end of it, if you see what I mean. Imagine your students, imagine doing the first certificate exam. One of the first things you need them to know is what the exam looks like that they're going to be sitting for at the end of the year, so that everything is building up to that. That's what we're going to be doing as well. So that's why we've structured the courses in that way, so that, yeah, we're going to start off with module 1, which I think is definitely in terms of the concept and the way the exam needs to be done, the more intense of the two, and then start with module 3, which, like I say, is in a written assignment, but there's no exam for module 3, okay? And that's really important. So you don't have to panic about another exam. It's a spaced out extended assignment. So that was a very long answer to Karen's question. So, and to Leticia's question as well. That's why we structured them like that, so that it can be done at the same time. I will remember while I was doing module 1 with him, while I was teaching him with module 1, at the end of the sessions, I always used to say, do you have any questions? And there was always silence at the end. And that's completely understandable, because even if you don't have any, I'm going to come to Mercedes' question in a sec, even if you don't have questions now, I guarantee that later this evening, when you've got Netflix on, or where you're out with your friends or something, having a beer or something like that, you think, oh yeah, I want to ask that question, which is just the right time to write an email to the lovely Maria, who will either answer the question or forward it on to me. Is the course online? It is 100% online, Mercedes. Yes, it is. So you will be sitting there and I will be sitting here, probably with the same background. You'll be getting very used to my living room, Mercedes, through the duration of the course. Yeah, it's one of the, in fact, if I can think of only one vaguely positive thing, perhaps, that's come out of the last couple of years, it's that we're able to do courses like this. I know that there are many courses for module 3 where they tell you what to do, You're given all the instructions, you're given the, the rubric, etc., 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 and maybe a model of the assignment, how it's supposed to look, and then they leave you to get on with it. I can speak from personal experience when I say that's quite intimidating, and that's why I want the sessions that we have to be online, as in like this as well. So that on those dates where you've got the sessions on the timetable, we meet up like this and we say, okay, so how's everybody doing with this, that, and the other? And that's why there's going to be drafting of it and revising those drafts, etc., before they get sent off to Cambridge. So look, everybody, like I say, questions will always occur, like, after sessions are over, like today, for example. And I know that, well, you've all got Maria's email address anyway, but I know she's put it in the chat box too, didn't you, Maria? Yes, you did. So please, whatever questions, comments, etc. you may have, then let us know. Or if you need more information or whatever, then tell us. Mercedes, is module 1 also an hour and a... No, module 1 is not an hour and a half long, Mercedes, no. Module 1 is 3 hours. Yeah, and that's starting at 8:30. But you'll be happy to hear that there's only 2 sessions a month, Mercedes, okay? So it's not every Saturday. It's 2 sessions a month only. So every 2 weeks. Or wider apart, depending on the month, of course. And you've got the session timetable there, but yeah, it's 8:30 till 11:30. Is that right? 10:30, lovely. And we will have a little break in the middle, I promise, okay? So you can go make a cup of coffee for 10 or 15 minutes, because yeah, Saturday morning at that time without coffee or mate, forget it. No existe. Good. Okay, so does anyone else have any questions for now? Well, like I say, if you do, you've got Maria's email address, so please do drop her a line, okay? And then, any question about anything, it can be about the course, about the exam, about, the money, whatever, all right? If something hasn't been clear, that, you can write about that as well, yeah? Whatever you want. Okay, and then hopefully see you all either in April or June next year. Well, thank you for joining us. Enjoy the rest of your Friday night. Dan, enjoy your Friday afternoon and your weekend. And well, hopefully see you all soon. Thank you very much. Thank you for joining us. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you all.
Already kind. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Lovely to meet you all.